All right, chapter 3. So the first program we were supposed to create, it was an arithmetic program, and this is mine right here. So called the class name Rhythmic Program. Um, and then in the beginning, I just set these integers up right here and created space in memory, and then assigned that space in memory a name like number 1, number 2, sum, product, difference, and whatnot. And then I've added on the end here, these are just comments to help me stay organized. Then the first line right here, we've got the console class, write line is the method, and then we're going to write, in the console screen here, enter your first number, and then what it's going to do is it's going to take whatever number that you enter, it's going to read that console line, it's going to convert it to an integer here, and assign that integer to the memory space number 1 up here. And then we do the same thing for number 2. And then what I've done is I've created these mathematical equations here for the sum. So sum right here is equal to number 1 plus number 2, and then I've got the additional information over here. So it's going to add whatever's in number 1 and whatever's in the number 2 space in memory, and it's going to create the sum number and stick that in memory here. We do the same thing for product, difference, and the division right here. So these are just the equations. And then I've just got the console writing those out. So it's going to write the sum. It's going to write sum is, and then 0 here refers to the sum space in memory. And it's going to plop that right down there. Same thing with the product, the difference, and the division here. And then I just put the console read line at the end here so the screen doesn't go to black immediately after. So that's my first program. Let's go ahead and see it work. Start. Here we go. Enter your first number. So my first number will be 3. Enter. My second number will be 2. Enter. So the sum is 5. The product is 6. The difference is 1, and the division is by 1. Okay, so if I press enter now, we're done. All right, moving on to the next one. Let's go File, Open, Project, Solution. And the second one that we did was comparing integers. So that's this one right here. All right, then I've got the namespace comparing integers. I went ahead and set my class to the same thing, comparing integers over here and over here. And it's kind of the same stuff. We've set aside a spot in memory for an integer, and we've named those integers 1 and 2. And then I've just got a little remark after they're telling, reminding me what they are. Then we've got the console writing enter first line to be compared or whatnot. And then whatever the user inputs here will get converted to an integer and assigned to the number 1 space in memory, or the number 1 space in memory, which is right up here. We did the same thing for number 2, and then what we did is we used if statements. So if number 1 is equal to number 2, then the console is going to write that 0 here, which is number 1 in memory, and 1, which is number 2 in memory, that these are equal. If number 1 is greater than number 2, then 0, which is represented by number 1 in memory, is going to be larger than 1, which is number 2 in memory. And then I've got, my remarks after that. Same thing with the less than, pretty much the same thing, just reversed. Then again, the console read line to keep the program from exiting before I want it to. So pretty simple. We just, used if statements in this one. Let's see that one run. So enter the first number. We'll say 2 and 3. So 3 is larger than 2. And that's what we wanted. All right, so let's open up last project here, which should be Arithmetic small and large. All right. Now here I've created space in memory for 3 numbers, number 1, 2, and 3, and then I've created a space for the highest number and a space for the lowest number. And these are all going to be integers. And if we go down here, I've got the console write line to tell me to input a number, and then that number will get stored in number 1 and converted to an integer. Same thing down here. We've got the console write line for the second number, which is going to display that. Then whatever we input, it'll read, convert it to an integer, and then save that in the number 2 space in memory. Same thing for 3. Then I went ahead and got console right line sum is 0, and then I went ahead and put the equation in right here. Number 1 plus number 2 plus number 3, that is 0 basically. So it's going to add those 3 numbers up and then plug that in for the sum right here. And then I've done the same thing here for getting the average. I've gone ahead and taken 1 plus 2 plus 3, and then I went ahead and put them in parentheses so that we know that that order of operations should happen first. Then we divide that by 3 to get the average, and then that whole line is the 0 right here. So it's going to go ahead and do the calculation and then plug it in right there. Same thing for number 3, except we're using multiplication here. That just plugs it in right there for 0. And I've got my notes on the side here. The highest and lowest were interesting. It took me a long time to kind of figure this out, but just using the math and the if statements, we were able to go, okay, so the highest, and that's this right here, highest, that's that space in memory we reserved, is going to be equal to number 1, which is this number right here that's been set in memory, which we entered in here. But if number 2 is larger than the highest number now, so what we've done is we've gone ahead and assigned the highest number to be number 1. But if number 2 is larger than the highest number, which is actually number 1 at this point, then the highest number will be equal to 2, so it'll replace that number. Then when we move down here, if number 3 is larger than the highest number, then the highest number is number 3, and then that will replace the number that we have assigned in here under highest. So that you end up at the end of all this stuff with the highest number. Then after that, we can put in the console class, the right line method, and say that the highest number is 0. 0 will represent this space in memory, the highest space, which is going to be whatever the highest number is here. And then I've got a kind of comment there. We did the same thing for the lowest number, except we just switched it around. Instead of highest, we've got the lowest there, and then it puts that number into the lowest memory slot right there, and then it'll output that information for us here. And then again, we've got the console read line at the end to stop it from prematurely leaving the program. That's pretty much it. Oh, let's make sure that program works also. So let me start that up real fast here. What's my first number? We'll say 3, 5, and 10. All right, the sum is 18. The average is 6. The product is 150. The highest number is 10. Yes, that's correct. And the lowest number is 3. So that's correct. So the program worked exactly how we wanted it to. So I can press enter, close that down. And those were all 3 programs. So right on, the Sunday rocked. Go Hawks. And see you guys in class on Wednesday.